class at Unity of Springfield. This morning I'd like to talk to you about the value of poetry in our everyday life and in our religious development, because it plays such a good part.
Tell them who you are.
My name is Don Fredrickson. I thought I said that. Oh. It's a strange thing. We think that poetry is a separate item that is quite removed from our everyday life. But it's quite opposite. What happens is you get up in the morning and the first thing you probably do is pick up your phone and put some tunes on. Well, you hear music. The music is just poetry set to a tune. So you start your day out with poetry. And then you make your coffee and hear some more commercials. And you hear a commercial about, say, T-Mobile. And they have come up with a jingle that makes you remember them pleasantly. They have set their product to the tune of, "Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a wonderful feeling that everything's going my way." A poem. And it's a pleasant poem, and you associate it with T-Mobile, and they've done their job. And it's a poem set to music. That's the third poem you've had in the morning. You get to church, it's Sunday morning, you get to church and you're a little late. And what's the first thing you hear? A hymn. Another poem. And it's set to beautiful music. And you remember it, and it's internalized. And even at home, in the stories that you hear, there's always music. And many of them have songs included in the plot. More music, more poems. Every place you look, you're going to find it. Now, I'd like to point out just some advantages to poetry over prose. Now, it's not to say that prose isn't powerful, but it has nothing that poetry doesn't have. First of all, it's an emotional medium. It's not something that's trying to tell you how something works or explanatory. It's not dry. It's something that wants to evoke an emotion, a reaction, to make you feel either good or melancholy or just whatever the poet is trying to get over. And it's something that the people run into every day. An emotion is what motivates us to do everything that we do. We buy a car, you buy it because it smells good, and it's the right color, and all the bells and whistles are there, and you really feel good when you're driving in it, and you can visualize yourself. It's an emotional thing. They all have good power. They all have good pickup. Some of them are lemons, but it's an emotional reaction that you're making. Same thing when you're buying insurance. It's the emotion of fear, of loss. It's the emotion that always moves us. And it's the emotion that is at the base of poetry, any kind of poetry. The second item is the freedom of expression. The freedom of expression is something that you don't really have as much of in prose. You can talk about anything, and you can say about anything. You can call your car a girl. You can personify anything. It's a freedom that if you try to do that in conversation or in prose, people would look at you a little bit strange. But poets can get away with it. Another one, number 3. It's powerful in convincing. Convince people because it comes in rhyme and meter. And when you put something into music or into a pattern, it always has an influence on us to make us move in a direction. Okay. If you think that's not true, how about considering the jingles that you've heard over life? Anybody here old enough to remember Pepsodent toothpaste? You love your. Let's see. You wonder where the yellow went when you brush your teeth. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah. And Brill cream, a little dab will do you. Remember that? You remember the tune too, don't you? Yeah. Brill cream, a little dab will do you. And it's set in rhyme and rhythm. Rhyme and rhythm. And you hear it every place. You hear it in church, you hear it at home. There's no escaping the poetry that is influencing our very existence. And it's pleasant to listen to. If you hear something just said as a statement, if it doesn't click just right, you probably won't listen to it. But if somebody can say it cleverly and in rhythm, it tends to stick in your mind. For example, we teach our children the alphabet. Everybody knows the alphabet, and everybody knows A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You remember that from school, and you'll never, ever forget it, because it's easy to remember, because it rhymes. It rhymes. It's amazing how it affects us. It can soothe us. It can get us all charged up. It can make us melancholy. It can do any sort of produce any sort of emotion that the poet sets out to do. And when you think about it, it also applies to our spiritual development, our metaphysical life is incorporated in this kind of thing. We like to have things that we can quote. One that sticks in my mind is, I am spirit, I am free, I am just as God created me. See how it flows? It's the basic idea of the Course in Miracles. It's just understandable, and it's quick, and it's easy, and it's true. All right. So, number 5, it's a language of visualization. I mentioned earlier that we're always encouraged to visualize ourselves behind the wheel of a car, or in the arms of our loved one. Just imagine yourself kissing your wife or your sweetheart. You can just almost feel them in your arms. That's a visualization that is basic to how we see the world, to how we relate to it. And there are reasons. This is the reason why I have made my life over from a scientific laboratory existence to using the other side of my brain. I was using one side to measure, to reproduce exactly, to analyze, and I've set that aside, and now I'm using the other side of my brain, and it's like taking the square peg out of the round hole and slipping it in the right place. It just fits now. This is the way that I was intended, and it took me to age 70 to find it. But I put over 20 years into it now, and I'll tell you, life came alive. Of course, it wasn't an accident that it came alive when I met Wendy, because she's been a guiding light in this development right along. I saved my 1000th poem to come through on my 93rd birthday. Woo! That was the culmination of how I saw completion happening in my life. And that's the legacy that I have to leave to anyone who is interested in the poetic expression of the principles of the universe. Because that's what I've tried. I haven't tried to be original at all. When I hear something and it rings true, some sage or some preacher or a passage out of a book, I try to distill it and make it beautiful and concise. You don't have to read the whole book to get the idea. My wife is making motions to me.
Is your microphone on?
Yes, I think so.
I can hear it, but I'll turn it up a little bit.
All right. It was squealing a while ago.
Uh-oh.
Just
keep going.
Yeah, that's better?
Yeah, I think so. Is that better?
Okay. Is there anybody here that has not ever tried to write a poem? At some time in your life, you try to put something into a poem, don't you? To your sweetheart, or sometime or other. Well, we could do that this morning if you like. It's an exercise that it might come, it might, or it might not. I'll give you, if you like, an chance to participate in this. I'll give you a first line, and you give me a second line. How's that? Anybody at all that wants to just Start a poem with me. When a fellow is suffering at the end of the road, of the end of his rope, da 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 da. What could you say to those? When a fellow is suffering at the end of his rope. Anybody? Sure.
Do we need to do
Oh yeah, I'll get it. There you go.
There's always a thought that can lead to more hope.
There you go. You can put another line in between there, if you like put your hand on his shoulder and say, there's always room for hope, or it's just something that when it flows, you feel good because you've done something, you've created something. You can use hope or scope or anything else to, yes.
I just, you didn't lead with letting people know. Most people, either they haven't written poetry or they've only written it just to themselves. They're never let people see it or anything.
Oh no, it's quite private, isn't
But
it?
it's,
Yeah.
but it's like anything in our life. With Don, when he was 69, he had two beloved wives. His second beloved wife passed, and he was left at 69 alone and not knowing what to do. And he literally prayed in the ability, the poetry, because he prayed that there would be something more that would open him back up to life. And that's why he loves this, and anybody can do that. Anybody can call in the poetry to themselves to inspire their life. And we met through the poetry, and that's why he's at 93, still healthy and going strong, because he's so invested and interested in life through his poetry.
Okay. To demonstrate the essential connection with poetic expression and our religious metaphysical development, I selected the most basic of all principles that I could find, that I've experienced in 23 years of poems, poetic expression. And that one principle is that I am. I am. We're not only, we are creators. We're not only of our individual lives, but collectively, we are the creation of God. And we are the creators of the universe. Now, there might be other beings who have joined us, but these beings are the creators. That's what we're doing. Every day we make a decision. We're adding to all that is. We're adding to the universe. We've been doing it for untold thousands of years, maybe millions, I don't know. Our recognition of this thought, of this fact, is a long time in coming. It may not be, we may not understand when it all began or how it all began, but we can feel it is true. We declare every day that I am. I am happy. I am sad. I am sick. I am, but we keep saying, I am. We keep affirming, I am. This morning, through the medium of poetry, let us experience that divine spark. and fan it into an undeniable flame. If you're willing to do that with me, I invite you to close your eyes and we can begin. The art of meditation, sensing the unseen world, is a precious life experience where reality is unfurled, often holding surprises we might never have suspected, delighting the heart from the start, from a world quite perfected. Now relax the body and quiet your mind, and also center the soul. Let us begin with deep breathing as you become one with the whole. Let your muscles soften all over your head, letting nothing interfere. With drooping cheeks and sagging tongue, let your worries disappear. Breathing deeply, relax your jaw, your neck, your throat, your chin. Let everything loosen, now even your very skin. Let your shoulders and arms be melting like jello in the sun. Hands resting comfortably in your lap, as if they weighed a ton. Still breathing deeply at your own pace, let the well-being sink in. Feel your chest and back relax more than it's ever been. Your hips and thighs, you realize, are comfortably at ease, supporting gently by the chair. Easy as you please. In your knees, calves, ankles, and feet, let relaxation be complete. As tension flows out of your toes, relaxation is replete. Let all your thoughts just float away on the breeze of forgetfulness. Should one persist, you can insist. It goes, nevertheless. Thus leaving you in blessed peace to commune with your soul. Now you're free to be yourself and recall what it is to be whole. Once you've entered this sacred realm, your spirit is free to soar to anywhere or when at all, perhaps even to heaven's shore. Sink into a quiet mode where thoughts just slip away into that mist of forgetfulness of what they had to say. Listen to your breathing, its rhythm and its flow, the assurance of well-being you have come to know. Breathe deeply, notice your aliveness, the pleasure of it all, as you find your natural rhythm with each rise and fall. Remember, you are a spirit being, so focus deep within. into the region of your heart and let it all begin. The I Am meditation. I am fully relaxed in my body and quite content to just be. My mind is free of all concerns, afloat in eternity's sea. Beyond the range of time and space, immersed in my own well-being. All motion is stilled, and the silence filled with pregnant, nascent being. Here in this warm, soft ocean of love, nothing need be done, for God pervades the atmosphere, folding all into one. Peace infuses everything, and truth reveals her face, smiling on creation in her fond embrace. I am one with the pregnant void, the womb of all creation, where darkness was on the face of the deep, the source of all causation, where the Word spoke forth at creation's birth and found and brought forth the earth. There is only oneness here, and that oneness is me, for my essence is spirit, full and divinely free. I am now unlimited in both quality and size, or any other feature one could verbalize. I am one with everything, for everything is me. I am the grass, I am the trees, I am the mountain, I am the breeze, I am they all together, and each one of them is me. We are all one in the Father, and evermore will be. Here I am free to soar on high, or rest gently in the arms of love. For I am most loved and welcome, and bask in the freedom thereof. When I am cloaked in physical form, or spirit soaring free, throughout the universe, the boundless universe, I exalt in being me. For God made me magnificent, the God of God stuff in his likeness, to dwell in the joy eternally, in the glory of his brightness. When I am ready, I will open my eyes to the world of knowing that God and I are one, and I am forever growing. And now, as I am bathed in love, in the ocean of well-being, I safely refocus my consciousness here in the world I am seeing. Refreshed and strong where I belong, among those for whom I care. I am awake, aware, and ready to share the love in which I bear. All is well eternally, for only God is real. As a child of God, I am welcome back, refreshed full of zeal. The end. The if you have any comments, this would be a good time for them, or questions or suggestions. In the main, if you do,
So I know because I live with you. Maybe you could talk a little bit on, you said that you wait till an idea comes, but what I have seen happen with you is there can be a spiritual concept or something that someone says and everything, and I know that you're kind of like, you don't get it, but it sparks you. And what that process is within the writing of the poem, I see by the end of the poem something's changed. Maybe you could address that process a little bit, what happens to you with a spiritual idea as you go through writing.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's a question of knowing something is there and working up the nerve to try to talk about it. And this is where my higher self comes in. I always depend on him. I'm often amazed at what appears on the screen, because my ego would not have said that. It's something that develops in the writing. The creation process takes over, and I feel like more of a tool to let it flow out than an author or a writer. It's something that's beyond what I'm able to do by myself. Is that what you were talking about? Yeah, okay.
Well,
No, evidently she's got more to say.
well, what I just see is that at the end of it, when you go into it, a lot of us will hear something here, and it's kind of like clicks with us, and then we go home and nothing happens. And I know what he's trying to give to people is a tool. And when he goes home and sits with a poem, and by the end of that poem, it's a part of him now. It's not just a piece of information. It becomes a part of him.
That's true, yeah. I have an example of something that I've written recently. I guess both of you are here, yeah. This is one that I wrote in July 12th of this year. It's called Blessed is the Giver. Maybe I better read it. This is a little smaller print. I met a man the other day with whom, let me start again. Blessed is the giver. I met a man the other day who taught me a lesson. A homeless man, if you understand, I'd like to meet again. I handed him a $5, almost without a thought. A blessing poured out with his grin, though it had not been sought. What happened next surprised me more than I can say. For as I turned the corner on my intended way, I saw him pass the $5 on to a bearded man who hurried to McDonald's. On wobbly legs he ran. I couldn't really help myself. I suddenly had to know. why he gave away the fiber and his breakfast he forgoes. I've been homeless many years and poor all my life, and been on the receiving end of luck and constant strife. I needed to know how it feels to just be the giver, to fill a need, a friend to feed, and not just be the receiver. Then I had an idea, a chance to make a friend. Let's have breakfast together, my treat, and I'll give you a 10. Then you can pay for the next man's meal with a fiver left to spare, so you'll see how it feels. It's part of the game of sharing. We call it pass it along. Each one pays for the next one. A club where everyone belongs. And we'll be the charter members, of Givers Anonymous. Regardless of our circumstance, with giving, we're synonymous. So he formed a club. Wonderful. And I have just one more to read to you. This is Wendy's favorite. It's one that I wrote back in 1999. It's called Light and Shadows. It's a little heavier, but is there anybody here that doesn't know the story of Plato's cave? Everybody has heard of that? Okay.
Someone online might not. You might just.
Okay. Just for their sake. It's a story that Socrates tells about Plato. Okay. He pictures human beings all in a cave. And they're all chained up so that they can only see the wall in front of them. And the only light comes from the mouth of the cave. And so all they see for their reality is their own shadows on the wall. That's his vision. Now, one of those evidently breaks his chain or something, and he gets out. And his job is impossible, he says. Because nobody's going to know about all this good stuff out here. That's the vision of the man who sees reality and tries to let it be known. And this is what I wrote about that. In this tale of Plato's cave, were chained, they watched the shadows dance grotesque upon the wall. They fancied demons and gods withal. And then by chance one burst his bonds and labored toward new birth, breaking forth to a bright new world, as from the womb of earth. How to tell is one folk who never dreamed of such things as waterfalls and rainbows and meadow larks that sing. The glory was too much for them. They never could receive. They never could perceive a world so grand could be at hand. Their home they'd never leave. And so it is in our day too, with grandeur all about. While standing in full sunshine, our hearts are still in doubt. Scarcely dare we lift our eyes, lest the glory blind us. 'Tis easier by far, we say, to put the light behind us. So we turn our backs into the light, and there before our eyes is the shadow of our true self, and we are satisfied. And thus the sin of second best still plagues us to this day. Refusing the eternal gift, we continue on our way. If we but have the courage, Holy Spirit, to invoke, to let His light surround us and glory fill our souls, we would see Him everywhere. Our spirits thus set free, eternal light would fill us, and the shadows then would flee. That's the essence of what I've been trying to develop over the years. The vision of what life really is, opposed to the what do we call it? The emotion, the
Maya.
Yeah, Maya. That's a good word. Yeah, that we think we see, but mistranslate. Thank you. Is there something else? Evidently, she's got something to say here.
I just wondered with other people about their experiences with poetry, reading a poem or something that really had an impact in their life. And so I'll give an example. There was a time in my life where I was just struggling to exist from one day to the next and not take my own life. And fortunately, I had some sisters that were older and going to college, and so the college would let me come and sit in. I couldn't take it and was not well enough at that time to commit to anything, but I was in a poetry class, and we were supposed to gather poems. And as I was looking for poems, I found a poem that I can't repeat to you. It was a long poem, but basically the gist of the poem was about you've taken your life and you're dead, and there's nothing you can do about it now. And are you sure that you kind of looked at everything before you take this final dip, because now you're dead, girl, that's it, you know? And that poem, I kept it and I would read it over and over and over, and it was one of the things that allowed me to stay here long enough to find my way back into a world that I wanted to live in. So I wondered if others have experiences with poetry that have had meaning in their life.
I have a couple of examples. One was back in the 80s, and I was just going through a difficult period, and I just found that poetry just came out of me without any difficulty. I didn't hardly even, if there was a pencil, then I was just ripping them off. And conversely, when things are going really well, it's not easy for me to write poetry when I'm not in pain. And on a different point, I used to be on call a lot in my job, and so I often would get woken up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and drive to an emergency room or a jail or somewhere to evaluate somebody. And one time I was doing this some years ago, and on NPR, I was listening to NPR a lot, and BBC was on, and for the first time I heard about Rumi. And so they were talking about this guy Rumi, and so soon after, I went ahead and I got A Year with Rumi by Coleman Barks, did the translation of his poetry. And that just really changed a lot of things from my life. The different aspects of looking at love from Rumi's poetry was just a wealth of just funness.
And transformative, don't it? Yeah.
Not quite poetry for me, or maybe it is, I suppose. I have a loose group of girlfriends in my phone, and we occasionally now, over the last year or so, have built up this habit of whenever one of us wakes up just feeling just right, we will send out affirmations to each other, and they're always written kind of on the spot, and it's just whatever we're seeing for the other person or whatever we're feeling that morning. And it's been pretty profound. You know, I wake up and I'm having a sour day and I'm not sending them out, but here comes one or two trickling in throughout the week because they were having better days, and it's a powerful thing. Pretty cool.
We're deeper than we think.
I wanted to thank Don. Don and Wendy were in the spirit group, not this cycle, but the last cycle. And I think one of the days you had brought in one of your poems, or you had a sheet of them, or whatever it was. And I'm you 70 years ago, where it's really not clicked onto the other side of the brain, right? You know, poetry is not necessarily something that I spend a lot of time thinking about.
Right.
And you wrote one, and it was like nature of the universe, you know, and I don't remember which one it was, but I was so moved that I basically demanded your books, right? And you're like, yeah, I have books, I've been writing, I have these things, I don't know if I can get them, and I remember being like, well, you have to, and you have to give them to me. And I just wanted to be grateful because I've read through all of them, at least flipped through all of them. I'm not sure I'm cover to cover, but you kind of showed me a little bit more about what poetry can be and how much different it is from writing a paragraph about here's how the world works and trying to explain it that way instead of almost painting a lyrical or a word picture of it with the cadences and frequencies and stuff that you can do with poetry.
Emotions.
So you're really, really inspiring, Doug.
With the what you were saying a while ago about the when things are going well, we don't really think about important stuff. But when we're pressed, we have a different perspective. Well, out of all of those poems that I wrote, I think I've memorized one. And it has to do with that very thing. It starts out, isn't it ironic how on the brightest summer day you see perhaps 1,000 miles or 100 miles on the sun's abundant ray, when on the very darkest night when the moon is hid from view, you see 1,000,000 light years to stars of various hues. And so it is in the mind's eye too, when the world is bright and gay. That we see, our mind is diffracted by the day. We can't see very far. I've forgotten that word. But on the very darkest night, when the dark night of the soul focuses in veil, we turn to God, whose visions never fail. we're forced to see things as they really are, and that's what happened to you, I think. The drama in your life demanded that of you, and I could see that happening. Yeah, it would be very, very real. I'm sorry about the messing up the one poem that I tried to memorize.
One of the another example in my life is two of my children have crossed, and my second child was he was just almost 19, and he fell off of a mountain. And part of the process of grieving him was to, it's funny when something like that happens, what you remember is every single moment that you were not the best mother. That's it, and it just starts playing out, and it just eats at you, it just eats your soul up. And so one of the things that I decided that I was going to do is every day I was going to find 3 things to share with him that were beautiful. And so I would talk to him, and I would talk about the things that I saw. And I never wrote any of these down, but in that time too, some of the times, often when I was thinking of something, I would think about it in verse, in a poem. It was almost like the taking the time to make a poem out of the beautiful thing that I was sharing with my son. It made you stay longer. It made you stay longer with that beautiful thing. And there's nothing more healing than doing that, to begin to create a whole new life experience with that person that isn't here now, because we think we lost him and we haven't.
Are we there?
Yeah.
We did it.
Okay.
Do we have some announcements? Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Our other poet laureate. So please stay after the service today and join us for the potluck and town hall meeting. Next Sunday at 9:15 in the New Thought World Religion Adult Sunday School class, Greg Lee will present Intentional Cannabis, Part 1. Planet Unity is our big Earth Day celebration, and 2024 will be our 7th year. There will be a planning meeting on November 19th, right after the service. Please stay and help us brainstorm ideas to make next year's event bigger and better. Some dates to remember: the Thanksgiving potluck will be on November 23rd. The holiday decorating will be on November 26th. The candlelight service will be December 22nd. And the Christmas potluck will be on December 25th. Sign-up sheets are in the foyer, and you can also sign up on our website. November and December church calendar is also available in the foyer. Feel free to grab a copy on your way out. They actually printed one. All right, so I guess then these were the announcements, so we can gather around back. Circle up. Bye, folks.
Yeah, it's done. Hey. That's my shoe. Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.